Hi, my name is James Lavenue, and this is interview number 3 for Management 5113. And today I have with us Mr. Hanna. Could you introduce yourself for us?
My name is Bill Hanna. I'm with Hanna Oil and Gas Company in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and I am the president of our company.
And what do you do at Hanna Oil and Gas?
Well, as president, I do a lot of different things. My primary job is to make sure that all of our employees have every tool they need to do their job. And that can range from literally tools to a work environment that's conducive to progress, and trying to create an environment that is happy, healthy, and functional, and all that entails. That can mean a lot of different things, but that's the overall sort of probably job responsibility that I have.
Mm-hmm. And how would you describe the culture at Hanna Oil and Gas?
Well, it's a family business. It was started by my father in the early 1960s, one-man operation that today had zero assets back then. That kind of came up through the oil and gas business from very much a grassroots effort and existence. And today, I have not gotten too far away from the family culture. I like that. There are 4 family members working in the company today, but we treat employees as family. It's an employee first environment. And we are hopefully team members, and we win together and we lose together. And that is the environment that I strive for, and it's not always present, but that's what I work towards.
All right. And when I worked for you, of course, you and a small team of other people interviewed me. But when you are interviewing a new hire, what are some of the qualities that you look for?
Well, depending obviously on what position it is, that skills in that particular position, we're not unable to train. We really need to have people who come in that already have something to offer us in terms of skills. But what I like most is attitude and a willingness to do whatever is required. I don't like the company to really get too siloed. We do have a very much an engineering function, and we have very much accounting function. We have geology and land and different sort of disciplines, but I like the attitude of whatever is needed to get the job done, I'll do. And when I see that, I know it and I love it. And that to me speaks volumes. So it's just an attitude and willingness to learn, do better, be productive, get along with others, and all those type things. So attitude is most important to me.
I agree. Since you have taken the role as president of Hanna Oil and Gas, what would you say that you've learned about personnel management?
That's a very good question. And I would say hopefully I've learned a lot. Hopefully I've progressed in my position. But I think I have to know how to be empathetic. I have to know how to be understanding. I have to know how to listen. I have to know how to be patient. And those things don't come all that naturally to anyone, maybe, I don't know, but not necessarily to me. But it's really required. Since I don't understand, our company is not overly complex in my mind. However, it is complex industry we're in. And I will never know everything that's needed to know. So I really rely on others to lift up the company with their skill set and knowledge base. And I'm never going to quite understand certain things. I'm not going to understand certain things in engineering or geology or land or accounting or marketing. I'm going to understand a little bit. I'm going to understand as much as I can, but because of that, I have to be somewhat empathetic to their frustrations and their ability and sometimes inability to understand everything they need to know. I'm just not the smartest guy in the building, and because of that, I have to have an ultimate trust in others, and so yeah, I hope that covers that.
All right. So actually, when I first started working for you, that would have been in June of 2020. That would have been a couple months right after COVID-19 really shut most of the country down.
Right.
And so how did you adjust to COVID-19 in regards to Hannah Oil and Gas?
Well, I kind of had to take a position personally on that, and I had to kind of tell others what we were going to do because no one knew what to do. And if you ask someone what to do, you're going to get 5 answers because there was so much uncertainty. And then it became somewhat political, and I couldn't encroach on people's political beliefs. Didn't want to go there. So I had to just take a position, and that was actually comforting because that was one situation I didn't. The ability to ask others advice was off the table. I do have other companies that I mimic to some extent, and I follow them, but I didn't go within the company to kind of understand what to do initially. Then it became kind of apparent that there were just nuances to the whole sort of solution range. And some people wanted the mask, some people didn't, some wanted the vax, some didn't, some wanted the booster, some didn't. And so I had to be kind of somewhat flexible as to how we dealt with that. But I mean, ultimately, I'm a vaxxer, I'm a booster, I believe in the science, and I believe in the math. And so that was my position. And so as long as there was increase in outbreak, hospitalization, ventilation, and death, I am wearing a mask. And I do that not because I want to, it's just simply because I believe it works, and I kind of trusted others to follow that lead, and they did. And then over time, that's kind of waned. Today, we're not wearing masks, but that's just happened this week. We've just decided this week. We're still going to be respectful of space, and if you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. I'm not, but I'm respectful of space. So it's a difficult situation. Initially, a lot of people work from home, and I was very fine with that. I really want to be respectful of others. And that, that gets back to the culture. I ultimately respect our employees and how they act as long as they act good.
Mm-hmm. So when you go to work, what would a typical work day look like for you?
Well, I like to get here early. I like to get here before anyone, a good hour, maybe hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours before anyone else. And it allows me to kind of reflect on what I'd like to try to get done for that day. And I'm a list maker, and I make lists of what I want to get done. And then that kind of carries me through the day. But my sort of compulsory routine is to go through the mail each morning. And that kind of dictates a lot of my activity as well. If there's things that come up that I need more clarity on, I'll obviously go get that. Mondays are full of meetings, as you remember. And then a lot of times I'm out of the office, but if I'm out of the office, I'm representing the company in whatever it is I'm doing. And I'm on a few boards and do a few community projects, but I always do it with Hannah Oil and Gas hat on. And I think that pays the company some dividends down the road. It tells others that we care about other
more
things.
than just the profit.
Yeah, and we do care about other things. And it hopefully speaks to the community that we're a good company. Maybe it's a company you'd want to work at. and just kind of keeps our what I consider to be our social license strong. And that's a whole nother discussion if we ever want to talk about that. But social license is very important.
All right. Yeah. On my first day actually at HOG, I think you talked to me in your office about the social license, as you put it.
Good.
So how are your employees encouraged to set goals that you've set before, encouraged to meet the goals that you've set before them?
Well, I consider them to be accountable to one another. Each job is dependent on someone else. Marketing is dependent on someone finding some gas. That someone is typically attributed to the engineer. He needs the geologist to come up with a good prospect. He needs a good landman to come up with the land. Accounting is dependent on everyone giving them data, things to count. So, I mean, if you're not getting your job done, I will probably notice, but I may not be the first one to notice. I kind of have my signals that I get from people. I can tell, I'm kind of a management by walking around, as you recall, and checking in and how you doing, what are you up to today, and typically you can kind of sense if someone's got their hand on gas hat on for the day, or if they got their own personal hat on for the day. And and if you do that routinely and you kind of keep score, not literally keep score, but just kind of pay attention to people's work habits, you kind of figure out who the workers are, and others do too. And so hopefully it's a culture where they're accountable to one another, and they're not serving me, they're serving themselves and they're serving others. And that's the kind of people we search for. And I find that works kind of until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it becomes kind of it's glaring. It's not, it stands out. And then that makes my job easy. I can either make a correction, make a change, invite them to their future, whatever I need to do, right?
Yeah.
So typically we try to make them better is the response.
Yeah.
I don't like to let people go.
All right. And so what are some of the strengths that you individually have when it comes to leadership and management?
Oh, James, that's a nice thought. I can't. To name the weaknesses would be much easier.
Okay, that's the next question. So let's go to that.
Well, back to what I was talking about: to be patient, trusting, supportive, sympathetic, empathetic. Those are all things that I've kind of had to deal with and learn and become hopefully good at. I don't know that I am really, and it's tough. People, I remember when my dad started this company, and he told me, when we hired the second person, it became a problem. If you're a one-man show, it's pretty easy. You're accountable to no one except yourself. So the people piece is difficult, and you need to be good at it. You need to do all the things I just mentioned. And you kind of measure your success, in my opinion, by how long they stay. And if you measure it that way, I guess we're pretty good because we've got some good long-term employees. But I want them to manage themselves. I don't want to manage them, and I tell them that. And I think when you place that responsibility on people, some people love it and they just shine. When they're engaged, they know it's up to them. You just have to get out of the way, really. Frankly, you were that way, and I'm sure wherever you end up, you're gonna show that to your next employer, unless you work for yourself, which I envision someday too. But I mean, and then some people they want to be an employee. They don't want that responsibility, and there's a place for that here as well. But I don't think generally that's the environment. I like an environment where everyone is accountable to their themselves and their teammates.
Mm,
Many weaknesses, James, I learn daily. I tell you, this morning's been, it's only 9 o'clock, and this morning I've had a spoonful, if not a shovelful, of things I'm doing poorly that I've got to do better, and I'm going to work on today. I mean,
okay.
I see these opportunities all over the place to do better.
Well, that's surely one of the signs of a good manager, I would imagine.
You need to have a passion and intent to do it right.
Mm. Okay, so for my final question, I'll just ask you for any advice that you would give a new manager.
Well, to me, the term management and manager to me is really, I don't particularly gravitate towards those titles. I think to really do what I do well, or advice I'd give someone else, is don't be afraid to do what you're asking others to do.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah, and frankly, if I'll use the field work as an analogy. So we oftentimes are laying a new pipeline. And to do that, you dig a ditch. And a lot of times, whoever's doing that is in the ditch. Be the first one in the ditch. You go down and get in the ditch before you expect anyone else to. They'll follow you, but only if you lead. And to tell them to do it really sets a tone. To show them that you'll do it sets another tone. Mm-hmm. And I try to do that. I'm not the first one in the ditch anymore. I'm finding myself in the office. I need to go to where I can provide the most value.
Yeah.
But that is the sort of overall vision, is that you as a new manager, go do the work, and you'll understand what it is you're asking someone else to do better if you understand what it is they're doing. So go do it. And in a small company, these things work. A big environment, 500 employees, and it becomes siloed. It's a little more difficult, but that's not my world. And so, since you're talking to me, I'm going to tell you about my world. But if you're in Walmart, I don't know how it works, frankly. I mean, you have to have a special skill set, special ability to operate in an environment that is so multidisciplined and so many people. That takes a much better skill set than I possess. I just know from my experience in my company, I know what works better. I feel like I think I know what works best for us, and that's just getting the ditch first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that was a good answer. But thank you for sitting down with me, Mr. Hanna. It's been a pleasure, and we need to get together soon.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.